not sure how I'm going to go about this one. I don't particularly feel like going through kind of the sequence that showed up in the week. It just really showed up as a paradoxical way of seeing. And the title this week, I kind of wrote it down as seeing versus looking for evidence, but there is also that invisibility, and it's the invisibility, and the shadow is so loud, and it's the mind gives it so much focus and control, and this was a whole new way of seeing, but you need to see where the blind spot is. It's a bit like saying no. Now, am I saying N-O or am I saying K-N-O-W? They sound the same and pretty important to this week's reveal. So, if we're always looking for what is going to go wrong, which was incredibly important as the process of becoming where we are now in the world. And it's important when you're crossing the road, but it's not important when you're sitting by yourself and the mind is driving you crazy, wondering, doubting, and not relaxed unless you know. Well, knowing doesn't come from the mind. I remember the maths teacher who taught us was actually saying there's no such thing as a perfect number one. That just opened my world, that there's no such thing as a real perfect mathematical pure number, even though we use it as a tool and measurement. So it very much showed up how when we focus and continuously want to know what's going to happen in the future and can I believe it and is it true, and looking for the evidence where it may not work out, it's a horrible way to live. And what happens is you'll always find evidence for some of that. So moving forward, if you see it in calmness and faith, you'll find your way. Even if you meet a dead end, that dead end will lead to another way. That inner faith that just knows, regardless, I'm here, and that stillness within self, that downloads, call it download, don't even like the word download, we're not computers, but it arrives like a gift from an aspect or a knowing element that sees things like we've never seen before. And this week we did see things like we never saw before. And going from I can only focus on things that worry me to I can focus on things that are good for me and joyful. What a different world. The one that surprised me, it was like the word no. And it actually is this reading that I'll read out to you this week, that is for us as well. Interestingly enough, the same one tested up to read out at the end came up in the session. And it's the paradox of it. You know how we look at our charts, those of you who are kinesiologists, and it goes to the negative. The negative can actually be the positive, and the positive can be the negative. The context changes everything. No. Context changes everything. So this was rather beautiful because great pain was being felt and frustration and not feeling like self. And what this essence really assisted in exploring and seeing where the dynamics lay. And the dynamics lay in the negatives here actually read rebelliousness, hot-headed, unresolved father issues, selfishness. And what really was revealed that the relationship with the father was actually so blended in equality that the blended inequality actually was the issue and needed to be seen. Because having a relationship with the father that is so whole and equal, with deep respect and hearing and listening and feeling love for each other, becomes an expectation from others. And when it's not forthcoming, there's this rebelliousness and hot-headedness that the others don't feel and do what feels effortless and perfectly normal to me. It becomes a blind spot. So it's a blind spot if there are father issues, but it's also a blind spot if there are no father issues. It's all in the seeing. So another that revealed this very much was this young woman who, she always surprised me because going through high school, she had this incredible, wise ability to be unflappable. And she would see the other school students and they'd go through their choices and their experiments and experiences, and she just saw it. She just saw it and was calm in it, with an ear that would listen to whatever, a profound being. And then as time went by, the only way I can look at it, and I'm guessing this, is it can be a very lonely place amongst others of our own peer. And as such, she moved into story. Because when she observing, there wasn't a story. It's just what you see and the choices they make. And the stories they're running. So she started running stories and making up pretty dramatic stories and moving into them in her life, and no doubt sharing it with others as how awkward and how terrible and how whatever, until she was so not herself that it's spinning out, it wasn't viable for her anymore. And you know, if there are so many times that new ways of seeing come through the beings who come, who see life in their perspective. It's just so exciting to see different ways of seeing. And what showed up was the remarkableness of her and what her authentic process was. Which and I've thought this before, it's like, why do we grow through suffering? Why can't we grow through joy? I think joy is an experience that is as repeatable and as informative as pain and suffering is. So I've got my little board here because I want to draw it. And her experience was just such a delight in the revealing. So isn't that lovely? That circle is perfect there. So we have this circle, I'll just draw it here. There's this circle of being, and sometimes we're very inward looking and we're looking at what's going to happen, what will that mean to me, very often running by stories and patterns. They're just patterns. Once you see the pattern, you can do something about it. So we have this pattern, and her way of being was to, through no, and outwardly it sounds like N-O, but through her no, she would move in that aspect of no in how she created the expansion of herself. And in that process, a continuation of expansion as her process. How beautiful is that? So, focus is everything. There was also a being who I saw, whose way of what we now term as manifesting is so incredibly fast. And you may go, wow, how wonderful. No, it's a blessing and a curse. When something can be so instant, but it's a blessing when you know you can just turn it like that by seeing it differently. And it comes down to discipline, goes down to being still, getting rid of the labels. Don't give it a label. Give it an inner falling into place. So I will read what this essence was, and then I'll read the card that came up, which fits beautifully. So the negative condition, rebelliousness, hot-headed, unresolved father issues, selfishness. The positive outcome is male bonding, sensitivity, respect, consideration. I mean, the labels are quite, we can do anything with those labels, can't we? Depending on what evidence we're looking for. So it says here, it helps men, and I would say the internal male yang aspect of females as well, to be aware to allocate quality family time, making this essence required not only sunlight but also moonlight, thereby adding the female principle, so as to allow bonding. It is also for anyone with unresolved father issues or unseen, as was in the case here, which can manifest as a recurrent, lifelong, rebellious attitude to authority figures. And authority figures can be anyone who says anything to you. The card that came up is stillness, which speaks of how we do this expansion of self versus looking for labels and trying to resolve what we say these labels mean. Stillness. Take time to be still, to appreciate the beauty in every moment. Quiet your busy mind and allow the still softness of peace envelop you. Do not rush into anything but sit meditatively, and in this stillness your answer will be found. It comes. To attain what has eluded you, be still and allow it to land upon you as a feather would gently float into your hand. So do your wishes descend upon you. What a great way to enter into this year. Much, much love, and thank you to all those who came and to those listening, because, you know, sometimes it just feels like not always that easy to enter into. But if there's one seed that resonates, that's great. And if not, that's the way it is. Lots of love. Bye.